Thank you very much. This is really an honor. Thank you. It's ironic that I'm standing here today because I vividly remember sitting in my junior high school class and my teacher, Mr. Baker, going down the aisle pointing to individual students saying, "You're not going to be anything, you may be something, and you're not going to amount to anything," and it went on and on and on. And then when I got to high school, the principal pretty much said the same thing. He said, about a third of the graduation class would probably graduate. You know, I mean, a third of the freshman class would probably graduate. And it was true. So many students fell by the wayside. But strangely enough, a lot of students went on to be quite successful in spite of the negative predictions. But I remember that was the thing that made me want to be a filmmaker, because I said I was going to say something about this. I was going to write about this treatment of students. You know, I can see how it crushed my friends. And you have to excuse me if I do this thing. But when, no, excuse me, I truly get stage struck, so you have to forgive me and be patient. Anyway, when I first came to UCLA, the film department was located in a bunch of bungalows just west of the research library. And this was a great place to be. I mean, it was only, the tuition was only like $15 to $25, would you believe it, a quarter. And basically everything almost seemed free. I mean, you had, you know, a medical facility that treated you when you needed it. You had discounts on everything, you know, trips to abroad, whatever. And I told my friends, I said, you know, you got to go to college because they give you things for free, you know. And it was basically true. I remember because of the film department, they gave you film, you know, to do your projects, you know, things like that. But they kept the film, so we protested and got the rights to have our own films, so we had to pay for everything after that. But you know, from time to time, people ask me, do you have to go to film school to be a filmmaker? And obviously, you don't, because there are people who become filmmakers who don't go to film school. But for me, it was essential. It was places like this where you had the diversity. You had teachers. You had, you know, just the atmosphere of creativity, and that was so important to me. And I think that one of the major things was the fact that it was a diverse student body here that was truly important. One of the things I remember about UCLA is that when I first got here, I was very shy and everything. And one of the most dreadful experiences I had was the end of the quarter screening. And if you're filmmakers, I'm sure you've experienced that. I don't know if it was as vicious. I don't know if was it vicious. I mean, as vicious now as it was then, because it was really traumatic when I was making my film and showing it at the end of the quarter. But the thing was that I learned a great deal from that experience. It was almost like a test of fire, something like you had to go through to reach a certain level of maturity. And the other thing was I had a lot of great teachers here. And I had a documentary teacher, Basil Wright, who made Song of Salon. He was so helpful in helping me determine what kind of films I want to make. He said that you have to remember that the subject of the film is humanity, and you have to treat people with humanity. And it was very important because at the time, you know, it was in the 60s and things like that, and people were making films about, you know, flower children and hippies and things like that and drugs. And that was far from my reality. I wanted to make films that spoke about the things and the narratives that I saw and witnessed in my community. But anyway, I'm going to end by saying, telling this ironic story because, as I mentioned before, that my being here is a bit ironic because I wasn't expected to be here. In terms of, if you listen to my high school teacher and junior high school teacher, Mr. Baker, he'll be surprised if he was here now. But the thing was, I'll give you an example how you have to be true to your faith and have confidence in yourself. In 1988, I was offered a job to write a script for CPB called Sleep with Anger. And we started off on a good foot and everything. And they started demanding changes in the script. And I tried to accommodate them at first, but then it went on and on and on, where they began to change the direction of the script to something I didn't want. And so I started to resist. And then one day I saw on PBS a Horton Foote drama. And in it, there was a long scene where the main characters are sitting on the veranda talking about the past. And I had a scene in my film that was very similar, but a lot shorter. So I told my contact person at CPB, I said, you want me to take my scene out? But I said, but here's Horton Foote's, he did it, and it's very successful. And the person said in a very rude way, yeah, but you're not Horton Foote. Okay, so then I still refused to take the scene out, and so they dropped the project. And they wrote me a letter saying that I would never be a writer, I wouldn't amount to anything, but I've heard that before, right? And so, Cotty Chubb and Ed Pressman got a hold of the script, and they made the film, and it won some awards. So that was in 1990, and then 15 years later, in 2007, I was in Africa making a film, and I got this call from the States, and they said, we want to give you an award. And I said, well, great. They said, oh, no, but you have to be here to get the award. But I didn't want to fly all the way back to Africa. I mean, all the way back, from Africa to the States for one day to pick up an award. So I was about to say, well, I really can't. No, I don't want to. I'll decline the award. But I was lucky. I didn't say anything. But I asked. I said, well, what is the award? And they said, well, it's the Horton Foote Screenwriting Award. And so I said, I will be there, even if I have to walk. So, but anyway, the moral of the story is you have to believe in yourself. Thank you very much.